So what is this car?
It is a private vehicle.
Okay, why does it look like a patrol car?
Because it used to be one.
Okay.
That's not a crime.
I understand it's not a crime, but it is a crime to have a light bar with certain colors. That's why I had to turn your overhead down.
Yeah, there's no red and blues.
So
they were pulled out of the push bar too.
I'm sorry, what?
They were pulled out of the push bar too.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so who did you buy the car from? Why does it still have like the cage and everything in the back?
A disabled veteran was unexpectedly pulled over by police, simply because he was driving a decommissioned patrol vehicle that had been fully and legally converted into a personal car, in accordance with Ohio Statute 392 U.S. 1, established in 1968. By law, officers must have a clear and reasonable suspicion of criminal activity to justify a traffic stop. In this case, the driver had complied with all regulations. He had removed all prohibited emergency lights to show there was no violation whatsoever. However, instead of ending the stop when it became clear there was no infraction, the officer continued questioning. He seemed fixated on the vehicle's remaining features, such as the interior cage and the light bar, both of which are not illegal and perfectly acceptable to keep after legal conversion. The veteran explained plainly that he worked as a security contractor and part-time Uber driver, jobs that sometimes require extra protection for himself and his passengers. When asked where he got the car, the veteran humorously pointed out that he bought it at a public auction held by the police department itself, and that officers had even left behind cranes in the glove box. A small but telling reminder of the vehicle's past life. Despite finding no signs of illegal activity, the officer refused to let it go. Instead, he kept pressing, trying to dig up any minor detail that could be twisted into grounds for further action. This approach amounted to little more than stretching reality to justify a baseless traffic stop, a display of reluctance to admit error, the misuse of authority.
Red and blues. So they were pulled out of the push bar too.
I'm sorry, what?
They were pulled out of the push bar too.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so who did you buy the car from? Why does it still have like the cage and everything in the back?
Because I do security and I've got a dog.
Okay. And
I drive Uber as well, and the college kids get a kick out of it. The door's open from the inside though.
Okay. And so what's your purpose of having a light bar on the top?
I do security as well. I'm waiting on amber lights. I'm a freelance contractor.
Who do you do security through?
I'm a freelance contractor
So
at
like
whoever.
somebody hires you out, or
Yep. That's exactly how I do it.
And so whoever you bought the car for left everything in there, or did you equip this car with it all?
No, it came like that from Oberlin Police.
From where?
Oberlin Police in Ohio.
Oberlin Police in Ohio?
Yep. They even left some crayons in here. You want some crayons?
I'm sorry?
They left some crayons. You want some crayons? I got.
No reason for you to be a smartass with me, sir.
I've been trying to get rid of them. I'm serious. You want some crayons? You got kids? I can even show them to you. I got tons of them.
How do you spell it?
Oberlin.
So they left the MDVR and everything in it?
Yeah, they did.
Their license, registration, insurance as well?
For what crime?
Well, this is a traffic stop, and I have to record everything on my day sheet. And the reason we're stopping you is to make sure that you didn't have lights, but therefore it's an investigative stop for that purpose. So you do have to show me your driver's license.
For what crime?
And registration.
For what crime?
For having the light bar.
Is that a crime?
Once I found that it's not the red and blue lights, it's not a crime, but I still have a traffic stop.
Lawfully, I know my rights.
Okay.
I do not have to present ID if there's no crime committed.
But I am doing an investigation to investigate that those are not blue lights.
There are not blue lights. You saw that.
Okay, you have to provide that you have insurance for this vehicle to be on the roadway.
If there has been a crime committed, I have to provide this. So please call your supervisor. Please call your supervisor now. What's your name and badge number?
Psychon 074.
Thank you. What's your name and badge number, ma'am?
I'll give you a business card for that one, sir.
Okay. That's not how the law states it, but I'll take a business card.
It's Officer Drawer, badge 184, as you can see on my name tag.
Thank you.
As well as I'll provide you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
A business card as well.
I appreciate that.
21, we're on Huron, just in front of the graduate hotel.
To operate a motor vehicle on the roadway, you have to have insurance.
Oh, I understand that, but there is this is over something that's not a crime, as you've already seen.
Well, when
So
you're driving
now
on the road without the light bar on, I don't know if it's red or blue.
you already saw it's not red and blue. Therefore, no crime.
That's why I stopped
No
you.
crime has been committed.
Is for that to determine that it is not.
And you've determined that it has not, so no crime has been committed.
When the officer asked for identification, the veteran stood firm, citing Heibel v. 6th Judicial District Court, 542 U.S. 177 2004. According to this ruling, a person is only required to provide ID if an officer has reasonable suspicion of a crime. In this case, the officer himself admitted that the vehicle did not have any illegal red or blue emergency lights, meaning no crime had been committed. Therefore, the veteran was well within his legal rights to refuse to provide identification. Despite this, the officer tried to justify the stop by referring to matters such as vehicle registration and insurance, issues that were entirely unrelated to the original reason for the stop. It was a clear attempt to retroactively validate an action that lacked proper legal grounds from the outset. In response, the veteran repeatedly requested a supervisor, firmly exposing the fact that the officers on scene had no lawful authority to demand identification without clearly articulating a specific violation.
How you doing?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I understand you wanted to speak to the command officer?
Yeah, so
I can't hear you very well from here. Is there any way to roll the window down slightly?
I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay.
For my safety, I prefer it up.
Okay. I just might not be able to hear you very clearly.
Yeah, so you can see up there, there's no other lights in there other than the 4. I was stopped anyways, turn on the lights. I know my rights. No crime has been committed. I'm not providing my ID. I will only provide an ID if reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime has been committed can be stated. And your officer does not want to do that. So it's harassment. I am a disabled veteran. I know my rights. I know the law. I know the Constitution. And it's officers like that I withdrew my support from you guys. And I get there's good ones out there. I'm friends with a few of them myself. But that's not okay. You know, there's no crime committed. I should have already been released. I appreciate that. You have a good night.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
There is not. I hope that your officers get some better training, because that's not okay. It's a violation of my rights. It's ultimately a violation of the law. And I'm not okay with that. I swore an oath to the Constitution. It's an insult to me. You have a good night, ma'am.
The female officer grew increasingly frustrated and unsettled in the face of the veteran's sharp understanding of the law. With no other choice, she was forced to let him go, in accordance with Rodriguez v. United States, 575 U.S. 348 2015, where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that an officer may not prolong a traffic stop beyond the time needed to address the original reason for the detention. When no crime is present, the stop must end immediately. Calm and resolute, the veteran made it clear that he held respect for good officers, those who serve with integrity and a sense of justice. However, he also stated firmly that he could no longer support a law enforcement system that disregards and violates the constitutional rights of its citizens. When the supervisor arrived, the veteran presented his case one final time. No crime had been committed, there was no legal basis to demand identification, and there had never been a valid reason for the stop in the first place. In the end, with no justification left to stand on, the officer had no option but to walk away. The vehicle, once a tool of law enforcement, now belonged entirely to a man who knew his rights better than those who once wielded authority inside it.